All right, welcome back, everybody, to a Sunday morning edition of the Boston Boys Sports Podcast. I, of course, am your host, one of your hosts, I should say, the King, Eli Horrigan. I'm here with my man, the main man, the best beard in the biz. Beard, what's up, Kiefer Bontos?
Same old Sundays, buddy. Same old Sundays.
Not the same old Sundays, though, because we're looking at Championship Sunday. So if you're in Buffalo, if you're in KC, if you're in DC, or if you're in Philadelphia, big weekend for you. For the rest of the world, it's just a big weekend if Pat Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs get eliminated. But more on that in a little bit. First, we want to we are partnered with Jones and for Sports. We make sports better. Check them out on X, check them out on Instagram, check them out on YouTube. They're putting out quality content every single day, and follow us at X and on YouTube at Hub Boys Sports. But let's jump right into championship weekend. What are your thoughts coming into the weekend?
That Josh Allen needs to be the savior of the NFL right now. I've posted 1,000 things of him being like at that Endgame Avengers line with him and the NFL all behind him as the Avengers. Like
Yeah.
he needs to be the guy to take down Thanos and the Chiefs.
I'm with you. The amount of TikToks I've seen when I'm on the train riding into Boston, it's just Josh Allen versus the rest of the world. And that's really what it feels like. And not even, I'm just a creature of sports. When I was a kid, I hated Jordan and the Bulls. I hated the Cowboys. I hated any team that wasn't my team that was winning over and over again. So I get how people feel when the Patriots and Tom Brady just kept winning. And Kansas City winning has nothing to do with the Patriots dynasty, because they're two separate things, and one doesn't make the other less special. I'm just tired of the Chiefs.
It does make it less special, though, because the calls that Mahomes gets compared to the Pats got, even in the early years, it's not the same. It's really not. That hit that he got with the double guys. If you saw that slow-mo, they didn't even hit his head, bro. He slid and went down, and they collided, and it missed him there, and they called it anyway. That was like, gee, oh man.
Yeah, but you can't go back. They don't allow you to review penalties. So once the flag's thrown in game speed, it looks bad. I'm not a fan of replay. I hate replay. I wish they would take it out of the game. I don't want challenges. Like, that's why we have refs. Let them call the game. Does he get favorable calls? Yeah, but so does every superstar. I mean, I love the Patriots and Tom Brady. I know that I see all the stats that Tom didn't get as many as Pat, but Tom still got them. You can't hit quarterbacks anymore because Eric Reid hurt Tom Brady, and Tom Brady got those calls his whole career too. So I'm not worried about that.
So then answer me this: why didn't Goff get that hit when ball was already out of his hands and he got leveled in that Washington game and nothing was called?
I'll answer your question with a question. Who's the face of the league?
It doesn't matter. That's what I said. This is but bullshit about it.
It does, though. It does matter, though.
It's so bullshit. It really is.
In every league, though, superstars get calls.
Yeah.
Do they call the game the same for Peyton Pritchard that they do Jason Tatum?
No, of course not. But it's
Do they call the game the same for Pat Mahomes, who's won Super Bowls, that they do for Jaden Daniels?
No.
No, it's closer than Pritchard and Tatum. But it's the same. Superstars don't get calls. I mean, superstars get calls.
It's ridiculous.
Tom Brady got calls. Boy, I've seen a number of people the putting out Tom Brady ones where Chris Jones doesn't even touch him, and they get a rough in the passer. So, I mean, superstars get calls. I'm not worried about that. I am worried about wanting to see Buffalo just beat them. It's Buffalo's time. If Buffalo doesn't win this year, what do you do? What do you do if you're Buffalo?
Do they look good?
Now, what do you do if you're Buffalo? So I'm gonna tell you what do you do if you're Buffalo. Defensive line needs to play hard, needs to get in pressure on the quarterback. But Josh Allen doesn't need to throw 4 touchdowns to win this game. We saw it last week. He didn't throw 4 touchdowns. He ran for 2 last week? Was it 2 last week he ran for?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay, so think about it like this. You need the defense to be strong, which Mahomes is middle of the pack in offense this year anyway. You need to stop Kelsey because, like you said, Kelsey hit the fountain of fucking youth.
Every
You called
playoff.
it. Every playoffs, you called it. He hit the fountain of youth, and they need to stop him. Like seriously, stop him. I'm not worried about their other receivers. They didn't do a lot last game compared to what Kelsey did. You need to stop Kelsey. You need to get the. You need to put pressure on Mahomes. You need to make him run around, and you need to limit the penalties on the quarterback. That's the biggest one.
But my back to my original question, because I want Buffalo to win. If they don't, if they can, like, to me, this is do or die time for Buffalo. How many years in a row are you getting to a spot where it's your year? Like, this just, it feels different to me. I've been talking to people all week. I have a bet with a guy I work with. He took Kansas City. I took Buffalo. It just feels like this is Buffalo's time. They've been to almost the promised land. They're deep into the playoffs for a few years in a row now. If not this year, what do they do? What, do you fire McDermott?
I don't know if you fire McDermott or if you try to spend money to put more pieces around Allen, because it's not McDermott's fault. They had a good season, and that's what I look at it. It depends on the game too. It really does. It truly depends on the game. How bad is the game going to be?
Well, even if they lose by 1 point, how many years in a row can you not get over the hump before you say something has to change? I mean, they lost a lot of talent this year. I agree, but like, today is a game. The goofiness of Matt Collins showing up to Highmark Stadium, wearing, an open button down shirt with a hat that looks like it's straight off the beach in Florida, pair of shorts and no shoes. It's all fun and games. But if you go in today, like Matt Collins, show up and be a football player. I don't care about the side story. Curtis Samuel has to be special. Like, you're asking ordinary players to be special today, and that's what it's going to take to beat the Chiefs. That's what the Chiefs do. The Chiefs lost Kareem Hunt in his prime. He's back now. I get it. They lost Tyreek Hill in his prime. And they did what the Patriots did for years. They just plugged people around the one superstar, who's Pat Mahomes, right? Travis Kelce is Gronk. It's like one in the hand. Pat Mahomes, Brady, Gronk, and Kelce. The rest of the cast continues to change. Edelman was here for a while. I get it. But aside from that, the cast around him seems to change. What they do is they take ordinary players and they make them extraordinary. Buffalo needs to find that magic today. Ordinary players need to become extraordinary.
I agree. Well, so let's switch the flip a little bit. Do you think Harbaugh should be fired for losing to Buffalo?
No, Harbaugh's got a Super Bowl under his he's got his Super Bowl on his resume, and he has tenure there. It's the same thing as like Tomlin. Tomlin's what, 8-12 now in the playoffs. I mean, the guy can't.
He can't make it over the hump in the playoffs either.
But that's like Harbaugh and Tomlin both have a Super Bowl. Uh, Tomlin won't get fired in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh prides themselves on the fact that I think they've only had 3 or 4 coaches in their entire tenure. Um, Harbaugh probably has tenure in Baltimore. He probably can walk when he wants to walk. I think he would have to have a Bill Belichick like season. Like, they would have to go a couple years in a row. Like, you watch the degradation of the team go downhill till they're a 3-win team, and then it's like, all right, well, what you're doing, Harbaugh, isn't working. But I don't think it's outside of conversation. I think at a certain point, you have to look at a team who can't get over the hump and say, it's great that we're winning, 12 games, 13 games in the regular season, but we're not winning games in the playoffs and we're not winning Super Bowls. So something's got to change, right?
Yeah, I guess. I can't always blame the coach for stuff like this, and it is, and I look at it like basically the Bills tried to do what the Chiefs did. They lost players and they tried to plug and play people in there. And they did. They didn't give him a legit receiver, and then they got Cooper at the trade deadline, but Cooper hasn't really done anything either.
Cooper's cashed, man. He
Yeah,
stinks.
he didn't do anything. So they tried, but they didn't. And Allen is still carrying the team on his back.
If you take Josh Allen off the Bills, they're not good.
Oh no, not at all. No, not at all. Like he is the save all for that team.
He
I said it to you guys in the beginning of the year, and everybody thought I was crazy. I was a Josh Allen lover, and it's okay. I get it,
yeah.
but the kid is a football player, man, and that's what I look at for a quarterback. I need someone that's going to be a football player and carry a team to show that I can be the best player on this team and make you guys better.
So I didn't think you were crazy because I agree with you. I think Josh Allen is that team. And I said that I think preseason when we were doing our rankings, I said I thought they were going to regress. Which they went 13-4. They didn't regress. They're still good. They're in the AFC Championship game. They only didn't regress because of Josh Allen. And I said that he himself is a double-edged sword because that team is so good because they have Josh Allen. If Josh Allen and the first snap of the game has an Aaron Rodgers Achilles tear, they're going to get blown out by KC. They're not good. They'll have Mitch Trubisky playing.
Yeah, no, they wouldn't win that game by any stretch of the means, right there.
If Mitch Trubisky was that quarterback all year, if Josh Allen had an unfortunate injury in game one of this season, they're 13-4 right now with Josh Allen. What are they with Mitch Trubisky?
Even to maybe a six win team.
You're not wrong because I was going to say at best 7-10.
Okay.
7-10, so 6-11. Dude, 5-12. They wouldn't be good. Trubisky's terrible. That team runs on Josh Allen. Josh Allen has to be Captain America today, like you said. And when they're showing you, the Avengers versus Thanos, and it's Captain America strapping up the shield, right? That's got to be Josh Allen, and the rest of the team has to be extraordinary. James Cook, Dalton Kincaid, Dawson Knox, Amari Cooper, even Curtis Samuel, Matt Collins. These guys have to be extraordinary, and the defense has to play their most disciplined football. I don't know how many times you have to see Travis Kelce torch a team in the playoffs to realize you have to cover them. Make Xavier Worthy and Juju Smith-Schuster and DeAndre, make those guys beat you, because Travis Kelce he's absolutely phenomenal, otherworldly in the playoffs.
Yeah, he reminds me of Gronk at like the end of his career when Gronk was, I'm just here to block, and then goes into the playoffs and tears it up in the playoffs for Brady, getting 100-yard games and a touchdown or two. They just turn it on to a new level. Now let's flip the script. If Mahomes got hurt today, do they beat the Bills?
I'll say this, I'll answer your question by weaseling out of the question. No, the answer is probably no, but the Chiefs without Mahomes have a much better shot of beating the Bills than the Bills without Allen beating the Chiefs. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
So can the Chiefs without Mahomes beat the Bills? Probably not, but it's far more likely that would happen versus a Josh Allenless Bills beating the Chiefs. Like, it's just, who's the backup in KC? Honestly, I don't even think I know.
I don't even think I know either. He had a horrible game last. That's why they put him in so they could lose, and Bengals couldn't get into the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm gonna just quickly check. Oh, it's Carson Wentz.
Oh.
Carson Wentz, he hasn't been relevant for a few years, but yeah, Carson Wentz has a much better shot of beating them. But it was also Carson Wentz and second teamers versus the Broncos.
Yeah, very true. Very true. So let me ask you this: you hear about what Colin Court was saying about Jalen Daniels?
No.
So he said Daniels is a top 3 quarterback already in the NFL.
Okay.
And that the kid is so poised into the fourth quarter that you can't do anything to basically stop him. That he is unworldly in other rookies' cases, meaning like, so you got this kid, he's bringing them all the way to a championship game, and in the fourth quarter, he can't be rattled. There's nothing that can phase that kid in the fourth quarter. Do you agree with that or don't agree with that?
I disagree with it wholeheartedly. Jaden Daniels is really, really good. There's sections of it, like I do think he's unflappable. I think he's not a kid who like the pressure's not getting to him clearly. To call him the third best quarterback in the league right now is laughable. That's Colin Cowherd. He has a big platform. Guys like that, when they're sports talk hosts, they like to make these splash calls. For how many years did we hear Max Kellerman and these guys say Brady was done? You can't convince me that Jaden Daniels after one season is better than Pat Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Matt Stafford, Joe Burrow, Baker Mayfield. Like, not after one season. We all know the Matt Ryan is the epitome of the sophomore slump. You watch CJ Stroud do it this year too. So it's like, yeah, you're not going to convince me after 1 year. Now, the other side of that, he is unflappable. Late games don't phase him. He went toe-to-toe with the number one NFC team, and he didn't bat an eye. He just kept going down the field and playing good football. So he's on his way. He's top 10 for sure in the league right now.
Okay.
But top 3, I won't say that, because there's too many guys who still are better. He's the best rookie quarterback this year. He's the best rookie quarterback in the last few years.
Yeah. So I'm looking at this a whole. Maybe I'm looking at this in a different situation. Maybe I'm looking at it like you got Daniels playing the Eagles. The Eagles can't throw the ball right now. They're going to run the ball a game, right? Yeah. They are. Saquon Barkley is actually. They said that he's 248 yards away or something like that from hitting 3,000 yards total in a season for rushing.
Yeah.
So they're going to run the ball. Washington's defense is they're not a slumping team.
No.
Their defensive line is good. Their linebackers are good. So I think if you shut him down, I think you can see him go. And I could see him if he beats the Eagles today, who's in one of the top teams in that conference. I could see them actually beating Buffalo if Buffalo made it to the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Last week I think the Commanders maybe a 5% chance to beat Detroit. I thought Detroit was an absolute powerhouse. I think Washington, I'm not a Jalen Hurts guy at all. I think Jalen Hurts stinks, actually. If you said who has the edge in quarterback today, it's Washington over Philly. Jalen Hurts, I don't think, can pass. And I think that's why you called it first, and now I'm seeing it everywhere. A.J. Brown to New England. I don't know how you have that all day, because I hadn't heard it. You don't have inside knowledge. You're just going off of him wanting to be drafted by New England, ties to Vrabel, because him and Vrabel didn't have a bad relationship in Tennessee. Tennessee, the owners, much like the Crafts, are cheap and didn't want to pay A.J. Brown, which is why I do think that the Patriots will spend. I think Mike Vrabel's not going to come to another situation where they're not going to spend. And I think after having a few bad seasons in a row, Vrabel can talk to Jonathan Robert and say, if you want to just keep losing and lining your pockets, do it the way you're doing it. But if you want to be relevant again, we have to spend some money. So I think A.J. Brown's unhappy. I think there's legs that I just don't think Jalen Hurts is a good quarterback. And it actually makes a lot of sense for the Eagles to offload A.J. Brown.
Oh, of course. I think that is a perfect situation to unload. If they lose today, I think that Sirianni gets fired. I really do believe that, and I believe either A.J. Brown or Smith get traded for either draft capital or something in that nature. I think A.J. Brown of the Patriots is a definite better than what was I gonna say? The definite better than the T. Higgins. I was going after T. Higgins. Way better. And I think that he'll help the team way better than T. Higgins would, because he's a proven number one receiver. Like a legitimate proven number one.
Agreed. So now this is a fun conversation, and we'll get back to the games and doing our preview of the games, who we think is going to win. Spoiler alert, I have some bets for those of you gamblers out there. We'll see how I do. But I think you have to wait till draft night. And I think on draft night, if let's say Eagles lose tonight, it's Commanders and Chiefs, or Commanders and Bills. Commanders win, Bills win, Chiefs win. Whoever wins, it doesn't matter. But I think on draft night, if Carter falls to you at 4, you could potentially trade. You could potentially draft Carter, and then what's your move? Like, what is it going to take to get AJ Brown? Is it the second round pick?
It's the second round pick, and there has to be something on the team that we could get rid of to add to it. I mean, the Eagles' defense is stacked, so you can't trade a defensive player. I don't know what you could trade for offense or or any player on the Pats that's going to equal it. Maybe it's 2 second rounds or a second and a fourth, but it's not going to be a first round.
No, you can't trade number 4 overall because especially if Carter's right now. Now, if Carter's gone and Hunter's gone, I would entertain AJ Brown and the number 4 overall, and then maybe you get their second, or you get a following year's first or second. Like, you've got to manipulate it to try to.
So would you swap first with them? Swap first and then add a second round and then add a second or fourth round pick to it?
So if they were willing to give up AJ Brown and their first, which would be, I think, 29 overall if they
Something
lost,
like that, yep.
and then they get number 4 overall, and then they can go draft Tet from Arizona, right? And now you're making him your number 2 and Smith your number 1. And then maybe you have to give up, but we have to give up one of our thirds as well, or fourths, whatever it is. We have multiple picks in the either third or fourth round. So yeah, if we're getting, Philly number 29 overall and AJ Brown, and we're giving them 4 overall, and then 90 whatever overall, I'd be on board for that.
Yeah, I think that'd be the best option, is swapping the 4th for their first. You can't lose a first round pick in general and go into the second, because there's going to be guys at the later first that you could use that are going to be falling. So I think swapping ones, AJ Brown to us, and then us giving us up a little bit more draft capital would be the best situation.
And that's, to me, that's only if Carter isn't there. Because
that's only if Carter's not there. You have to draft Carter at 4. Like I said, if you have the choice between Hunter and Carter, you're going Carter, right?
100%.
Okay, so that's the only 2 situations that I see the Pats going. If Carter gets picked at 3, they're gonna go Travis Hunter, which I don't agree with. I don't think we need Travis Hunter right now. I think you need O-line, and I think the edge rusher will help Keon White and Barmore in the end. So because he's a hybrid one like Max Crosby. He can switch to linebacker and defensive end.
Yes.
So that to me is way better to have on this team right now, because that gives you a cornerstone on the edge. You have a legit corner in Christian Gonzalez.
Yeah.
And you have a quarterback in May. Now you just need the Now you need to tackle and build that offensive line, because Rabel's already came out and said every team that's good in the NFL has a great offensive line. That's what we need to work on first.
Yeah, and I 100% agree with you there, because and then if Carter's not there and you end up doing a pick swap, I think the back half of the first round, you'll be able to get an offensive tackle at that point too. That's where you address that.
Oh, agreed. Agreed. And Banks, I hear, is even dropping further than where he was projected, like top 11. Now they're saying he's dropping to like near the end of the first round.
I think this isn't a Joe Alt draft. I think that every tackle is dropping right now.
Yeah. Yeah. If I'm gonna go, I mean, who are the tackles who are the top 5? Do you know who the top 5 tackles are in the draft right now? Campbell's considered a tackle, but he's going to end up playing guard in the NFL.
The top 5 tackles: Banks, Campbell, Cameron Williams. Both you have 2 Texas tackles, so one's right and one's left. Kid from Ohio State, Simmons. And there's a kid from Arizona. I don't want to butcher his name, but it's like Savania. And those are the only 5 that are even slated for the first round. And Campbell, who started out as like top 8, is now like back half of the draft, like 20 to 30.
Yeah, I don't know what happened with him. I saw the same thing. I saw him drop that low, but I think it's because a lot of people don't consider him a real tackle in the NFL. I think that's why he's dropping.
I mean, he's a big boy. He's 6'6". He's 300 pounds. I mean, but again, Mekhi Becton, he was a tackle, and they moved him to. He's been moved to guard now, and Becton's been good as a guard.
That's what I'm saying. I think it's not the it's not the it's not the position. It's where the player is going to fit better. And I think a lot of GMs are slating him as being a guard right now.
Yeah. I mean, he's a guy that if you did that trade and you got if you got AJ Brown and Campbell's still there at 29, say, I would take him. And then if you work him out at tackle, and if he doesn't work at tackle, you move him inside. They need offensive line help and everywhere. The only thing that's really sad is they paid Michael Waynu. He's probably going to be your right guard, and David Andrews is coming back. So you probably have a right guard and a center. The rest of your line needs to be worked on.
Oh God, it does. Did you see what they said about the kid Lowell, the tackle?
Verdarian Lowe.
Yeah, they said that there was a podcast they would talk about New England Patriots, and they said who had the worst season in New England this year, and he was slated as the number 1 person to have the worst season on the Patriots this year. How bad he played at on the line was that bad.
That's not surprising. That offensive line was so bad, and it was a mix. I think they had like a different combination for like the first 9 weeks. They didn't have the same guy playing the same place, all together. So Mike Vrabel, I think Mike Vrabel is a leader of men. I think he'll definitely have a more disciplined team. Hopefully they bring in talent. I'm hopeful. I'm not going to kill the team for the picks right now. Like, even I'm not a McDaniels guy, but I'm willing to let everything settle and see where it goes before I absolutely kill every move. But I do like Mike Vrabel as a head coach. Is he the right guy here? I don't know. He had problems. Like I said, I think he must have went to Kraft and said, if I'm going to be here, you need to spend money, because the whole reason he left Tennessee is they wouldn't spend money.
No, and then they were getting rid of the better players on the team on him. And what is he supposed to do with that? I mean, you get rid of AJ Brown, Tannehill's not going to be the quarterback he was.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to. So I agree with him. He probably said he needed to spend money. I agree with him when he said that he needs to work on the offensive line. I don't like all the coaching picks he's done so far. The quarterback coach, he had to go the quarterback coach from Cleveland.
Yeah.
Again, I don't know if I like that. I mean, what did Cleveland do anything in quarterback this year to prove that this kid might be a better coach for this kid? I don't know. He got that guy as the special teams coordinator that had coached with him before. I don't mind that one. Terrell Williams, from everything I've understood, he's a defensive line coach that wasn't a bad defensive line coach. So yeah. I think I can take him as being the D coordinator right now and not having a problem with that.
Now, I'm not sold on a quarterback coach out of Cleveland, sure, but I think also Deshaun Watson's not very good. I think him being suspended for 11 games, he missed basically 2 competitive years of football. He's never been healthy. The Browns this year were not very good, but wasn't it 2 years ago now that they had a different starting quarterback? They had like DTR, they had a bunch of guys, and they made it interesting, right? Were they above 500 if my memory serves correct?
Yeah, and Joe Flacco came in and tore up the last half of the season and made himself look like a starting quarterback in the NFL all over again.
So now, was the quarterback coach, and his name's eluding me, I can look it up, but was he there at that time?
He was there.
So, I mean, maybe there's something to it. I mean, maybe maybe he is a guy who can get something out of guys. I don't know. I don't know him enough to say anything.
Well, he knows him too though, because wasn't Vrabel he was a consultant for him last year, wasn't he?
Pfizer or something in Cleveland last year or this
Yeah.
year.
So he has to know something about him. I just you see the friend picks like you guys were talking about before. He's picking people like Bill did, but
Yeah.
some of these guys are new full-time coordinators now that maybe needed a chance, and that's why Vrabel gave it to him. You just never know.
Yeah.
So
I'm not a
it,
McDaniels guy only because McDaniels, they said McDaniels was picked before Vrabel. There was reports. I was not a McDaniels guy. Anyone that was here with Brady, anyone was coaching while Brady was here, I feel like any mistakes they made got covered up by Tom Brady. So I'm not going to kill it. I'll wait and see. I'll let the proof be in the pudding. But I'm not. That's one I'm not thrilled about right now.
no, I heard those reports too. But if Rabel came in saying, I'm picking my coaching staff, I know he got stuck with Wolf for at least one more year. I knew that was going to happen because it was reported. Is Mike Vrabel shooting down the idea of Josh McDaniels, or did he really want Josh McDaniels? Because he could have said, no, I want to get my guy in here. And he didn't. So how would that affect it? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I would assume they would let him pick his staff. I would hope. Maybe he said, "Nah, like Josh will bring Josh in," and that's again. I'm not going to kill it too much. I'll wait. You know, when we're a quarter of the way through the season, halfway through the season, if they're 0-8 and they're scoring 20 points per game and getting blown out, I'll say this is why I don't like Josh. If they're 5-3 and they're scoring 32 points per game and they're losing by a field goal every week, I'll say, okay, maybe Josh isn't the problem. But I don't like the pick right now, but I'll let it play out.
I'm going to let everything play out. It's better than what we had last year.
Yeah, I definitely think it's better than last year already. Let's hope. There is reports out there that Elliot Wolf and the GM and all the guys working are basically just going to give their reports to Vrabel, and Vrabel has kind of carte blanche to who he wants.
And so I heard the same thing, and he brought that other guy that he wanted as the GM to assist the GM. Like I said, I think I said it to you guys. That kid is that guy is the GM in waiting if Wolf doesn't get done what he needs to get done with Vrabel.
Yeah, and I think that's smart because. And it's smart. Parcells said it best. If I'm going to make dinner, you should at least let me buy the groceries. And if Mike Vrabel's going to come here and coach, first of all, Bob Kraft, if you want to be a Hall of Fame owner, you need to write the checks that your coach wants. Because at the end of the day, the greatest coach on the planet, if they don't have talent, they're not going to win.
No, not at all. Not at all.
And it starts with your quarterback. And right now, I think you found a quarterback. I don't know how good he is in the grand scheme of the NFL. I know he's not Mac Jones. I know he can throw. He needs to clean things up. But I actually think you found a quarterback that can play in the NFL. So now at least surround him with talent, a coach and some talent around him. And then if he flames out, he flames out. But right now you have to put pieces around him while he's on a rookie deal.
I agree.
So let's jump into these games today. We started to talk about them, and that's offshoot to the Patriots, which were the Boston boys sports. So obviously we're going to talk Patriots, but the 3:00 game, Washington, Philadelphia. What do you like about this matchup for Washington? What do you like about it for Philly? And what do you don't like about it for both teams as well?
I think it's going to be a hard-fought game. I think that Washington is going to prove whether they're for real or not in this game. And yes, they were for real when they beat Detroit because Detroit, in my eyes, was the best team in the NFC. But getting by the Eagles and stopping that run game, because Saquon Barkley is just a freak. He really is. That kid is just a freak right now. They need to stop the run. I think Washington pulls the game out in the fourth quarter on the back of Jalen Daniels.
So you think Washington is going to pull this game out?
I think Washington's going to pull this game out. I get to do that because, I like to be hopeful on new teams. I don't want to see the Eagles go into the Super Bowl again. So I'm down for Washington beating Philly right now.
All right. Well, I think the marquee matchup of the weekend is slated for 6:30, Buffalo and Kansas City, but I think the better game could be Philadelphia and Washington. I mean, you have both teams. What are they? 150 miles apart between
Yeah.
DC and Philadelphia. I mean, we're real close. So you don't have the fit outside of the fact that it's in Philly. The home field's not the same. So I think Washington fans could show up. Jaden Daniels is fantastic. I think he is much better than Jalen Hurts. And I'm not saying that as shock factor, like much better. I think he's a much better quarterback. I think the game's slower for him. I think he makes better decisions. I think he's poised when the pocket collapses. What scares me for him is that Philly defensive line are monsters. I think they just went out and drafted Georgia. But
Yeah.
those guys are monsters. They're quick, and that could be scary. And I don't love Washington's run game. I mean, Brian Robinson Jr. is okay. Austin Eckler's been good for them this year. It's going to come down to, can Jaden Daniels, like, how is he going to operate against that defense? Because Philly's defense is good.
Oh, they are. And I think that they might not have a great run game, but they have three guys that can run the ball. Daniels can run the ball too.
Yeah.
So, you know, it depends on that game, how the game goes. I mean, LA kept the game kind of close last week for a little while with Philly, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Yeah, LA came back. They had a chance to win at the end.
Yeah. So if they could do that, and I think Washington beat the Eagles not in the first game, but the second game of their divisional games. They beat them, and they beat them by a good chunk margin, if I'm not mistaken. It would have been like 12 points or something like that.
I can check quickly while we're going through this. They lost one game, and then they won 36-33.
Okay, my mistake. And was that like a Jalen Daniels heroic in the fourth quarter as well?
That I couldn't tell you, but they did. No, they actually, yes, they scored 22 in the fourth quarter.
That's what I'm saying. The kid got ice in his veins, bro. He's insane.
Yeah,
His fourth quarter stats were the best in the NFL this year.
yeah. Oh yeah, I think they can beat them. Philly obviously has the most talent left on their roster. As far as like defense and offense goes, but Philly to me is the most broken team. Like there's something not cohesive about that bunch. AJ Brown, I don't think is happy there. Jalen Hurts is. We talked about this in the preseason. What Jalen Hurts are you getting this year? Is it the one who makes mistakes, or is it the kid we saw in his first 2 years? I think he's somewhere in between that. He's a kid who's going to have to be special today.
Oh, nope, I agree. And I don't think he's going to be very special. His last two games, he didn't do anything. It was all Saquon Barkley.
Saquon is the key to this game, but Washington's got a good defense. So Washington has been. Bobby Wagner has found the fountain of youth. Frankie Louvu's having a great season. Is De'Aaron Payne hurt, or is it who's the other tackle there? Why am I drawing a blank?
They had those two monster tackles. I don't think Payne's hurt though.
It's not Payne, so then it's no, Jonathan Allen. Jonathan Allen's fine. De'Aaron Payne's out. But or it's Darren. I don't know how it's said, but in any event, Washington's defense has been very good this year. So I do think Washington can beat Philly, and I actually, if I were just betting straight up, I like Washington's odds better than I like Philly. When you have AJ Brown reading a book on the sideline in the playoffs, it's probably not good. And I know they tried to like glaze over it and say like, it's no big deal. Like the guy likes to read. Well, how come he's never done it before then?
I don't know.
Well, the answer is because he's frustrated.
Frustrated how?
When he doesn't get the ball, he is the premier receiver there. When he's not getting the ball, I don't think he's happy.
No, I think what's that book he's reading on the sideline? Did you see that?
It was something he said to center himself. But I'm sorry, when you're on the side, it's the playoffs. When you're on the sideline, Does he do that all year? Is this just the first time they're showing it to us? Like, that's what I don't understand. When he has one reception, he's got only 3 targets, and the game wasn't over by any stretch of the imagination. The defense is on the field, and he's sitting there reading a book. He's not happy in Philadelphia. You can't convince me he is. He had a meltdown at the beginning of last year when he wasn't getting the ball. And I really remember this because I had Devontae Smith, who was in fantasy, and Devontae Smith had a good first few weeks. And I was like, okay, I have a really good receiver here.
Until he started crying, and then Devontae Smith fell off the fucking face of the earth.
Exactly. So AJ Brown wants the ball. If you're going to target him in a playoff game 3 times, he goes back to the sideline and reads a book. And like I said, Sirianni's like, no, that's just something he does. And he's like, I just like to read. That's not a competitive move. It's like, oh, I'm just trying to center myself. Really? In the middle of a playoff game while you're frustrated because you only have 3 targets. So I don't think things are right in Philadelphia, and I think they're primed to lose a big game.
No, I agree. I think that Washington can pull this out. I think Hurts is not going to be himself again. I think they're also scared they let him get hit because of that concussion. I said that last week. You saw it again last weekend in that game. He didn't throw the ball out. They ran the ball so much. He threw the ball, I think it was like 13 times. Threw for like 130 yards.
Yeah.
That's gonna protect him the best. And they have one of the best offensive lines in the NFL. So it just looks weird. I just think that Washington can pull this out, and I think Buffalo is gonna be the promised land right now. Everybody, this is like the Super Bowl right now for us. It's not next week or the week after. It's this week. This week is the Super Bowl for us because we don't want to see the Chiefs go into the Super Bowl.
I definitely agree with you. I think Buffalo, like I said, I think the marquee matchup here is Buffalo and KC, but I think the better matchup I think the more physical, less flags. Like, I think you could see a lot of flags for Pat Mahomes again. So yeah, I would say this Washington Philly could be a really physical good game.
Agreed. I wish there was an over/under how many fistfights there'll be at that Washington Philly game.
Oh God. How many fans are going to be there? 30,000. So 30,000 fistfights. I'll take the over.
Oh my God, that's the first thing I thought. You have a divisional rival championship game playing in Philly. How many fistfights are going? I wish that was a bet.
The Philly fans are awful, and they try. I mean, everyone knows the famous Santa booing Santa Claus, but now the fellow who's screaming at the Washington Packers female fan, it's like the more Philly fans want to defend themselves that they're just passionate. This is what you get at a game. You get this drunk idiot calling a girl the C word over and over again. It's like, it's just classless. 100% take the over. If there's a bet out there in Vegas, whatever the bet is for the amount of fights in Philadelphia, just take the over. The over.
I love it. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great.
So before we jump into Buffalo KC, final score: Washington Philadelphia. What do you got?
34-30 Washington.
34-30 Washington. I'm going to say 27-18 Washington.
Okay. All right.
And then the 6:30 matchup, the later matchup, we'll start to wrap things up here, but we'll go into Buffalo and Kansas City. What you want to happen versus what you think will happen. What do you got?
What I want to happen is Josh Allen run for 3 touchdowns and throw for 3 touchdowns and shit all over Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
What I believe is going to happen is 27. I'm going to say 27-18 Buffalo Bills.
27-18. Okay. Beyond the 27-18 Buffalo Bills.
Buffalo Bills.
The same score that I thought Washington Philly, but you got it Buffalo KC.
I only say that because I would want Buffalo to score more, and they have the capability to. But you don't know who the refs are getting paid off from. I mean, I saw a picture of Andy Reid on the sideline last week when he was on his knees. So you know what? Yeah, no, that's what I'm going with.
Um, I think it's Buffalo's year. I do. I bet on Buffalo, obviously. Not only with a guy against a guy at work who took KC. I have actual just FanDuel money on Buffalo as well in a parlay. I just think it's their time. It feels like their time. It feels like finally this is like KC for a team that was 15-2. They were relatively unimpressive all regular season. Now, of course, they're Kansas City. They always come alive in the postseason, but it just feels like this is the year. Like Buffalo couldn't get over the hump. They got rid of Stephon Diggs. Now it's like Josh Allen and his ragtag group of, misfits. And it's like, let me carry you on my back past the dynasty. It feels like that for me. I think it's going to be supremely tight. I think we go into the fourth quarter. I think both teams score a couple touchdowns in the fourth quarter. I think that, remember the 13 seconds, but maybe on the other side, maybe not 13 seconds, maybe 2 minutes. I think Josh Allen wills this team down the field, and everything that happened to Scott Norwood and wide right comes full circle. Like when the Red Sox finally got over the Bill Buckner curse of, through his legs, and they finally won a title. Scott Norwood and all the demons in Buffalo, I think, get exercised with a game-winning field goal, perhaps a 45-yarder, and I think that sends them to the Super Bowl. I think maybe we'll call it 35-32 Buffalo.
I like that.
And let me tell you something else. I don't know how many people live in Kansas City or Missouri. There's about 334 million or 335 million people in America. If Kansas City wins, we'll say half of the people in the country are going to go onto whatever gaming console they have. They're going to put it on the easiest setting for 15 minutes, and they're going to play Buffalo versus KC, and they're going to beat KC 175-0 because everyone's sick of KC winning, except for people who are Chiefs fans.
I agree. You might also see a riot going around the United States coming from this. For right now, you might see Buffalo Bill fans trying to pick up in 3D people through tables. You might see some stuff happen.
I mean, this is what's unifying our country right now, right? Outside of Kansas City fans, everyone else is leaning on Josh Allen as the savior of this great country. Just beat the Chiefs and go to the Super Bowl. And it's like, the Jets fans, Patriots fans, Dolphin fans have all come together to root for an AFC East rival. Everyone's Bills fans tonight.
I was just thinking that too when you said that. I think Buffalo, if they beat them, you're going to see a camera go to Buffalo right there, and you're going to see Bills Mafia tearing apart Buffalo in the city. They're going to be flipping cars, having a blast.
Now, they're the best fans. They were voted last year or 2 years ago the best fans in football, and I don't think they're wrong. Like Buffalo fans are fantastic, and I have a lot of love and admiration for Buffalo fans because to be in that cold weather and still show out at games and support that team, and for all the heartbreak from a Boston fan and a Red Sox fan, I understand the heartbreak. The only thing I'll say is once they win, you'll never that weight lifted off your shoulder. It's just never the same again after that. After the Red Sox won, it was like, well, what do I do now? I was a loser forever. You know what I mean?
I love that take.
You know what I mean? How do I adapt to now that I've won? But I'm rooting for Buffalo. I think the rest of the world is the rest of the country, I should say, is rooting for Buffalo right now too. Josh Allen, bring it home, man.
I think you might see the highest ratings for an NFL televised game for a championship game this weekend.
You already said it. This is the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it is. It's without a doubt the Super Bowl. This is just the Super Bowl is just going to be the icing on the cake. This is the Super Bowl game you wanted to watch.
Especially if KC wins. If KC beats Buffalo, I think there'll be less people that watch the Super Bowl than watch the AFC Championship game.
I completely agree with you.
All right. I think that's all I really have today on a beautiful Sunday morning championship weekend. You got anything else?
Oh, let me hear your bets real quick.
Oh, that's right. All right. So anybody out there, if this goes out before kickoff, feel free. I have a touchdowns one. I have one for the Bills game, and then one Bills Chiefs, obviously, and then one for Eagles Commanders. So I got these in yesterday. This was a $10 bet to win $358. So Jalen Hurts, 150 yards passing. Jaden Daniels, 150 yards passing. AJ Brown, Terry McLaurin, both 40 yards receiving. We have Devontae Smith, Zach Ertz, 25 yards receiving, and Dallas Goedert.
Okay.
Saquon, 100 yards rushing. Jaden Daniels, 50 yards rushing.
Okay.
Jalen Hurts, 25 yards rushing.
Okay.
Brian Robinson Jr., 25 yards rushing.
Okay.
Austin Eckler, 25 yards rushing and receiving.
Okay.
Fine.
I think the only thing that scares me there is the Jalen Hurts one because he hasn't thrown it for far. I think he hasn't thrown 150 yards in 2 games now.
Well, I think he's going to have to in this game. So
okay.
That's my early game. My late game, I added. Normally, I don't put a winner in, but I had to because I just believe in Buffalo. So I put Buffalo on the money line.
Okay.
Pat Mahomes, 200 yards passing, which he hasn't hit a ton.
But it's still fair enough.
Yeah. Josh Allen, 225 passing.
I could see that.
Allen and Mahomes to each have 1 passing touchdown.
I could see that.
Xavier Worthy, 25 yards receiving.
Okay.
Khalil Shakir, 40 yards receiving.
Okay.
Kelsey, 6 receptions and 60 yards receiving.
Okay.
Josh Allen, 40 yards rushing.
Okay.
James Cook, 40 yards rushing. Kareem Hunt, 25 yards rushing and receiving.
Okay.
And then Pacheco, 25 yards rushing.
Okay.
So that's another $10 bet. I think that's somewhere north. I think it's like $500.
Okay.
And then my touchdown bet for I have 6 guys to all score today. This one is $10 to win $834. I need Saquon, Jaden Daniels, Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, James Cook, Travis Kelce.
That's fair.
So those are my bets. If you want to tail my bets, feel free. Hopefully I win. I won, like I told Kiefer, I hit the other night for 400 on a 3-point parlay NBA. I've hit a couple. I've sent them to these guys. I've hit what I think the first week of the season I hit for somewhere close to like $1,500. So
you were up there for a couple weeks, buddy.
Yeah, I've hit a couple. I'm hoping to hit today. I've gambled enough to just keep it rolling all season. I'm not rich by any stretch of the imagination, but I've done all right with gambling this year, and hopefully championship week treats me real nice.
Oh, yeah. You did better than me this year, buddy. Let's just say that. I didn't hit once this fucking year.
Well, didn't you win your fantasy football league?
Oh, no. I ended up losing that game.
Who won your league?
You did.
I know I did.
I'm saying, I almost won that sleeper league. I was up by 72 points going into the last game, and I lost by 1.
So that's a big kick in the dick.
72 points. I was like, yo, I'm taking it to. Nope, lost. Great. Fantastic.
Who did he have that he beat you by 1 point?
All of my players played. It might have been a Bengals game. I think it might have been a Bengals game. Joe Burrow had a bunch.
Chase
Burrow, and I think he might have had an extra player. He had 3 players score over 72.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, it was awful. Very, very bad. Very bad.
That is a bad week.
But we have the champion Eli in my league. His belt is ready. I got his thing. We're going to drop it off to the big dog so we can get it over to you and you can flaunt it to everybody.
I got to mount it. I got a nice Boston Boy Sports sign that's going to sit behind me as well. I'll have to adorn the belt too for the year. So, and hopefully we'll do this again next Sunday as well, and Super Bowl Sunday. Might have a special guest next week too if Stevie can't make it. My cousin, who's down in Florida, he's a big Boston fan as well, so I think he might join us. Angelo, especially if Steve can't join us. Nice to have a third body here. But I think that's going to wrap it up then for today. Make sure you get your bets in if you're betting. We are also partner Jones In for Sports. We make sports better. Check them out on X. Check them out on Instagram. Check them out on YouTube. They're putting out great content. Also, follow us on X and on YouTube at Hub Boys Sports. Kiefer, final word, championship weekend. What do you got for us?
Go Josh Allen. Please beat the Chiefs. Please beat the Chiefs.
Josh Allen, Jaden Daniels. Let's make it a rematch of, I think, 1992, maybe 1991, whatever.
I think it was 91 or 92. Yeah.
Yeah. Allen, let's bring it back. Washington versus Buffalo for a Super Bowl in a couple weeks. Kiefer, take it easy. Enjoy the day. Enjoy the games, buddy.
Always a pleasure. Have a good day, buddy.
Later.